Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Miss Texas Show. This is the show where we showcase the amazing lives of our survivors from traumatic events, domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, as well as bringing our community leaders to share the community resources. We have a segment called Military Time, which we partner with the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce. And we invite our military members who are ready to share their stories for the community. The next segment is called Beautiful Ashes. And this is the segment where we invite our beauty pageants, winners and contestants, artists such as musicians, actors, dancers. Last but not least, our survivors who are now shining in the community and to come on and share the great work that they're doing in our communities. If you would like to be a guest on the show, you can email us on msusatexas@gmail.com. It's Miss USA Texas, or you can also direct message us to Facebook through the same name, MS USA Texas. This show is sponsored by Hope PYX Global. It's a nonprofit organization supporting the fight of these causes. Without further ado, we have a special guest today, Miss Mary Knight. Welcome, Miss Knight.
Thank you.
Yes, Mary, so excited to have you. I know we've been trying to schedule you on the show and both of us have a busy schedule, but I'm so honored to have you on the show and thank you for making the time on the show. I know Mary has a really long bio and she's doing amazing work in the community. We're gonna do a quick intro and gonna pass the mic to her and let her tell the story. Ms. Mary Knight is a clinical social worker, MSW, placed over 100 children in adoptive homes, provided therapeutic services for traumatized children, and by court appointment, conducted 400 divorce custody evaluations. And she has been a full-time writer and filmmaker since 2010. Ms. Knight is a survivor of various forms of familial human trafficking, including child pornography produced by her parents. She tells about the path she took to the great life she now has in her personal documentary, Am I Crazy? Her journey determines if her memories are true, and the trailer can be found in this film, and we're gonna put the trailer link in the content section below. Now, without further ado, we're gonna pass the mic to Ms. Knight and tell us about your story. How did everything happen to become where you are today?
Thank you so much. Well, I have some exciting, just recent news. My film, Am I Crazy? My Journey to Determine If My Memories Are True, is now on YouTube, free, and it's on Real People, Real Stories. So if we go to the YouTube channel, Real People, Real Stories, you can see it. And it has been viewed by, I believe, 19,000 people in the last 2 weeks.
Oh my God, that's amazing. We're going to for sure include that link in the content section below so y'all can click on the link and watch the story. And I know I'll be anxious to watch that myself.
Yes, So I haven't checked today, but it looks like it's 19,000 views. So it's being seen a lot, which I really like. It was definitely a labor of love. I remembered my abuse at age 37, and then 20 years later, at age 57, I reevaluated my memories on camera, and I talked to people who don't believe memories like mine exist, or that they're not credible. And one of those people was Professor Elizabeth Loftus. So I have interviews with her, and it was like going back and confronting. It was like sitting across from my parents who were deceased, which obviously I couldn't talk to them, but I was at a point where I was okay. I would have been okay meeting with them had they still been alive, and just saying, you know, what is it that you think? And in fact, my parents did abuse me, but they never admitted that. So the process of letting my greatest fear was, you know, being called crazy. And I thought I might be asked some question that would make me doubt my own memories, which I'd held for 20 years. But that's not what happened. I had already asked myself all these questions. I'd been a forensic social worker. I knew how to interview people, and I'd already, you know, asked myself all the tough questions. So they didn't ask anything I hadn't already asked myself. And then later in the film, I got to interview Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote "The Body Keeps the Score." It's still number 2 on the list of New York Times science bestsellers of science books. It's a bestseller and has been since it came out in, I think, 2015. So that's a great interview, and that's in there. My wonderful husband is in the film. He's interviewed in the film too, and it just shows the happy life I have now. That's the ending. It's the happy life I have now.
You know, you might know that the purpose of this show is to bring hope, love, and unity. It is certainly, you know, very hopeful and brings the light to all of our listeners who are going through things, maybe as a victim or survivors who are on the healing journey, you know, to see that you now have a lovely husband and you now have come out of this and you are now helping other people. You're shining like a butterfly. I'm wearing butterfly today. And yeah. I just, you know, I wanted to just have everyone remember that, you know, everything that you have gone through didn't get wasted. You are now on the healing journey and helping other people and bring this hope and light to our community. And thank you for the work that you do. Like I said, I cannot wait to watch this documentary myself.
One thing that's happened is I've gotten is people have contacted me. I even have my email up on that site, and you can put it on your site as well. So if someone wants to email me after watching the film, you're welcome to do that. And I'll talk to people by phone, you know, on a one-time basis. So it's been really rewarding because I've had people ask me, like, how did you do it? How did you get away from your parents? Because I chose, and it's the survivor's choice, but I chose to completely separate from my mother and my father. And I'm really glad I did. Now other people have different ways of handling this. And, but I show that. And I also in the film, I have footage of me going to the graves of my parents, and it helps people see how I detached from them emotionally, even after they died, because that's a process that's up to the survivor. But there's other things I did to heal, and I have a list on my website of 23 items of things I've done to heal. And one is yoga. I do yoga almost every day, and it's such a fun way to heal and to just make your body feel good. I also, one thing I like to always say is I don't want someone who's new in recovery to compare themselves to me, because this took a lot of time. And I suggest you think of your recovery as a part-time job. Maybe you're a survivor with a full-time job. Maybe you're a survivor with young children, which is a full-time job. And really, you're, in addition to what else you do, your recovery work is a part-time job. It doesn't pay off right away, but it will eventually pay off. So do the work and know you're going to get that paycheck later. I had severe chronic pain, trauma-induced chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and now I don't. But it took many, many years of working at it. And also I would say accept help. Like my doctor suggested antidepressants long before I was willing to take them. I'm still on antidepressants. I probably always will be. And that helps my life be good and easier. So give yourself some breaks. Do what you really need to do. I've done, another thing I still do is artwork, and I do fun art projects, and that helps me be happy. The way to heal is to find ways to be happy.
That's beautiful. I like doing crafting myself, and I sometimes just find myself like buried in those thoughts, and it certainly helps me, relax, and whatever I'm probably nervous, anxious about, takes away that tension. So that is beautiful. What is it that you do for artwork?
Well, I'm a foster mom. I do respite foster care, and so I just leave this shower curtain, old shower curtain on the floor with all these different paint items. And so I have pastels, I have acrylic paints, which I had never done before until I took a art class, and then I just have Mod Podge. I can do some collage work. I do all different things. One thing I'll show you two things I've done.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, so here's one of the things. I made this for a granddaughter.
Wow.
But, I didn't mean to really put her name, but here is, I didn't have that up long, but.
Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Oh,
yeah, that's a
what
Dr.
a nice
Seuss
message.
quote.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is for my other granddaughter.
Aww.
So yeah, and then this is something I did with a foster child and with my grandchildren. It's a mask. So it's a paper mache mask. So I do different things. Yeah. I do things with with kids, and then I do things alone, and then I can just do it however I want to. The little rocking horse, the little horse I made too. And so this is just something I got at Michael's, and then I painted and I put dried flowers on.
Oh, wow. This is lovely. This is lovely. Thank you so much for sharing, your great artwork. I love what you're doing. This is beautiful, like you share with people about what you are doing for, the different things that you're doing for healing. Yoga is so relaxing. I wish I can do it more often. Just need to make sure that I set that time, but with COVID, it is really difficult, to attend yoga class. So it's really hard to put yourself accountable. Say, okay, I'm going to that class. You make up the excuse not to. But thank you, for sticking to what you do. And you mentioned about antidepressant as well. This is awesome what you do. I would like to, without going into too many graphics, is it possible, it's very interesting. You said in the documentary where you were interviewed talking about how did you separate from your parents, but most importantly, how did you emotionally, as you mentioned, detach from them? I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. I just wrote an essay. I'm writing, by the way, in case anyone's interested, I'm writing a memoir. It's a collection of essays, and it will come out early next year. So if anyone's interested, please email me so you can be on the email list and be one of the first people to get it. And I will say, if you're a survivor,
Put me on the list.
good. And for any survivors who can't easily afford to purchase it, I will send you a PDF of it. I do have some of the essays already done and I can send them, but I just finished working on one on family. And so I have fresh in my mind some of the things I did. I thought when I broke contact, when I remembered my abuse, I knew I needed to keep my children away from my parents. And really, my parents, it seemed to bother them more that they couldn't have access to my children than that they couldn't see me, which didn't help me feel comfortable about them. But my parents have abused children in addition to abusing other children in addition to me. So I would have thought I would miss my dad more than my mom, because my dad was a good listener and my mom wasn't. I really hadn't had good conversations with her. And yet she was who I miss the most. And there's just that primal bond, to your mom. So my therapist, this was a year or two after I remembered. So I would have been 38, maybe 39 at the time. She suggested I do a goodbye ceremony. And she said it was good to actually have a symbol of each of my parents and literally bury that symbol, like dig a hole. I dug a hole in my backyard. The symbol for my mother was a pearl. I don't remember what the symbol for my father was, but my therapist came and I invited just a few friends, and it was like a funeral, and it was very helpful to me. I did anger work. I think anger is a very important part of separating. It's an essential part of the grief process. And really, if someone says you can forgive without going through an anger stage, I just would say that's not true. That's not true forgiveness. It can't be done. So to let myself be angry, I wrote a bunch of angry letters, which I didn't send. I sent some, but I also sent some letters. I used art as a way to help me get my angry feelings out. I was already a clinical social worker and I was already a play therapist. So I quit doing play therapy for that period of time. I quit doing that type of work, but I just did it with myself. So I had a friend who was an artist and I told her I wanted to get out feelings through art. She asked me what medium I liked, and what she was asking is what would feel good to do. And I said finger painting. So I just would mix up finger paints, just tempera and water, or it's easier if you use dry tempera and dishwashing soap, because then you can wash it off easier. But anyway, and she said, if you want to get a lot of feelings out, use a big piece of paper. So I just got I went to a U-Haul store where they have those big pieces of paper that you use to wrap things in when you move, and it's cheap, and I just got so I would draw on those angry pictures. I would just do it for about 15 minutes, and then by the end, after I'd drawn angry pictures, finger painted angry pictures, I started finger painting happy ones. So I'd always end with happy. It was just something which I understand now is you want to end with something like that, but I just intuitively knew to do that. So I'd have fairly short sessions for myself. When I was just home all by myself, I would do it. And I'd hang them on the wall in my bedroom. And I would say, if you do that, I tended to not get emotional enough. So that's why I use big paper. That's why I use a medium like finger painting where it have big lines. But what I understand, if you tend to get too emotional, to use a small piece of paper and use just like a pencil. So gauge yourself with that. I have been to art therapy, and art therapy is a wonderful means of healing too. Although I've had trouble, it's hard to find. Well, at least in the town where I live, I've had a hard time finding an art therapist. So what I would do, one thing I would do is I would bring these pictures in after they're done to my therapy session, and then I'd have someone to talk to about them. Other ways to separate from my parents, finding other people in my life who would be good people for me to be around. Recently, one of my friends, who's a survivor, called, and I hadn't talked to her for a while, and I hadn't known why, and ended up she'd had some real issues with her mother. She was incested by her father, who's dad, but her mother didn't believe her, and then she gave her mom some proof, and her mom was so upset with that that my friend's son was having a graduation party, and just right before the party, her mom says, well, I don't believe you, and I'm not coming to your son's party. So anyway, I texted her and said, would you like me to be your pretend sister? And so I did. I went to the party. It was a wonderful party. Her son is an amazingly accomplished young man. She lives in a beautiful house in a lovely suburb. I just took a day trip to see her, and so I was her pretend sister. Sometimes you need a pretend sister or a pretend mother, or now I'm old, so I have pretend daughters, and I love that too.
Oh my God. I want to say you're not old. You're never old. Age is just a number. And
It is.
and you look beautiful and young, and you're shining, and bring hope to the society, to the community. And thank you for the work you do. And thank you for sharing those. It's wonderful, like those art therapy and the letter, and never heard about the goodbye ceremony. And so when you buried those symbols, were your parents still alive at the
Yes,
time?
my parents were alive at the time.
Yeah, so but it does help you kind of like emotionally detach from them. Yeah, I'm so sorry about the things that you have to go through. If you feel comfortable, we would love to have you share that. But if not, that's okay as well. I wanted to talk about the memories. You said that, correct me if I were wrong, I'm making notes. Did you say you start to remember it when you were 27 or 37? 37. Yes, because I was doing the math. You said 2 years later, 38, 39. So I said, okay, I wrote it down wrong. So, and as a clinical therapist, correct me if I were wrong. My understanding is like people who went through what you have been through, a lot of the times they have, memory loss, and then later in their life, whatever things happen, that they just come back to them. But you also mentioned that people, the names that you mentioned, they didn't think that was credible, they didn't believe you. So can you explain to our audience that the ones who might be listening in just to get educated, or maybe they're supporters for our victims and survivors, but they don't have enough knowledge? Can you teach them about the signs of those memory loss, so that it can help with the healing journey of the people they're supporting?
Well, really, the thing I would recommend the most is to watch my film, and it's free now. It's 56 minutes long, and it explains it in a way that I think is really understandable. I really appreciate Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. His book explains it, but just very succinctly, I couldn't remember. I mean, I had to be able to block it from my mind, or I wouldn't have wanted to eat the food my parents gave me because they were abusive, very abusive. And my abuse did include satanic ritual abuse. It did include familial sex trafficking, child pornography. It was very extreme abuse, but I also want to say that I don't think it's good to compare abuse. And I know people who have been harmed just as much from a one-time, non-painful sexual abuse, you know, so I don't want people to compare that. In fact, I know someone who blocked out a memory, and it was of sexual, a one-time sexual abuse by her brother, who was just like 3 years older, and she blocked that out. So this is something our mind does to protect us, and then when we're safe enough to recall, we do. But yeah, I hope you don't mind, but I really recommend my film to anyone who's having questions about that. One thing it has in it is it has footage that there's no other footage like that of people who say these memories aren't true, and I question them. And when you watch the film, you will see why they say something so absurd as that my memories would not be true. And you know, when the camera shows it, then you can interpret it for yourself.
Absolutely. I totally do not mind at all. And actually, you know, as soon as I get off, I would love to watch that as well. So as I mentioned, we're going to put this on the link below so that you can see and watch the film yourself and learn more about Miss Knight, about her feeling journey. Now, you know, we have talked about these healing journey. I'd like to sort of learn a little bit about, you know, your feelings when you were going through the abuse. How were you feeling at the time, and to now, how are you feeling now?
Oh, I am really happy now. You know, even in the midst of this pandemic, I wake up happy most mornings. I just really have a good life. I hiked 5 miles yesterday and went to a yoga class. I am able to, I really am thankful to be able to go public. I have children in my life, which is very important to me, my grandchildren, as well as 6 grandchildren, 6 bonus grandchildren. I really like being a respite foster parent. Respite foster care means the children come to stay with me when their full-time foster parent needs a break. Usually it's on a weekend. Usually it's 1 weekend a month. So yeah, I have a good life now. As a child, I was abused a lot. I was neglected also. And I was good at connecting with people, and I would walk to a neighbor's house to eat breakfast. I was 5 years old when I started kindergarten. It was before I started kindergarten. I would walk to her house to eat breakfast. So I was a neglected child, but not by her. She was just so warm, and she really saved my life as far as just being so kind. And for me to see that even though my parents didn't love me, I was lovable. And I also had a teacher like once I started school like that. So I think one way, if you're listening to this and you're not a survivor, but you want to help survivors, be kind to people. Be kind to smile at people in the grocery store. Be kind to children. You never know how much that will help someone. I know when I was going through my divorce, because my first marriage involved domestic violence, being verbal abuse. I it just helped me for people just to smile at me at the grocery store and nod and acknowledge me. So yeah, the other feeling I had as a child, which was a feeling I worked through later than the other ones, later than the anger and the sadness, was the confusion. It was just so confusing being abused. It just makes it makes no sense. Why would someone go so far out of their way to abuse a child, you know? So it doesn't make sense to me. And so I think the confusing feelings are really hard too. So I would say, well, fear, anger, sadness, and pain, both emotional and actual physical pain, but also confusion as a
Wow.
child.
You know, you mentioned a lot of very important things. I think, you know, you were talking about be kind, and I do believe that love is contagious. I always say that, you know, if we all show a little bit love, the world will be a much better place. And look at your, you know, beautiful smile, and you're smiling every day. And this is just like we want to bring hope to the community, and we want this to be a safe platform for the people who are on the healing journey, and people like yourself who is on the healing journey and helping others to heal together. And this is the whole purpose of this show. So this is wonderful what you're doing, like, you know, spreading love and spreading hope. And thank you again for what you do. And I also wanted to mention that, you know, you said, I think it's very important, you know, I am so sorry about what has happened to you from the, you know, the multiple abuse, from domestic violence from your ex-husband to incest from your parents and all those things. But unfortunately it happened to you, but nothing, you know, just happened without the reason. And today that's your purpose, that you're serving the community. You did this, you know, wonderful film, but it's very well said. You said, you know, it's not a comparison, it's not the same. It's not because another person just have one incident. It's everyone has their own journey, and whenever they're ready to come out and speak out, but just take your own time and whenever you're ready. And we're here for you. We also have a support group that's called Survivors Against Violence Everywhere, that is on Facebook, and we're gonna put the link on the content section below as well as the link of the movie. We're so excited, you know, to be here to support others. I know that Miss Knight also, you know, do a lot of the work in the community. I know that, you know, you wrote the book, you're writing the book, and you have the documentary, and you know, tell us where the films are being screened at.
Oh yes, they're online. It's all online now. So be sure and go to that YouTube Real Women, Real Stories, and you can see it free. I'd love for you to look on my website. I do have 2 essays already on my website under the tab Essays. So go to that and contact me if you like by email, maryknighthappy@yahoo.com. That's Mary Knight, like knight in shining armor, maryknighthappy@yahoo.com. So yeah, I love to hear from you. And you mentioned your support group, and I also want to say, oh, support groups are so important. So if you're not in a support group, please get in one. That was essential for me.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to also put Mary's email address on the link below so that you'll be able to contact her directly. Now, you know, thank you so much for sharing with us about the story of what happened to you, and most importantly, what you're doing and shining in the community like the butterfly, you know, the rebirth. And if any takeaway for our audience, what would you like to say to them?
Take care of yourself, especially during this time when things are so hard. Take care of yourself. This might not be the best time to see my film because it does have details of my abuse in it. And if that's the case, that's fine. You can contact me without seeing my film. I have 2 essays on my website, and don't read the one with trigger warnings if it's a bad day for you. But the other one is psychological benefits of delayed recall. It talks all about recovered memories, and it's not too depressing. And then the other thing I hope you'll see is on my website, how I healed. And it gives lots of ideas. So take care of yourself. That's my message.
Thank you. Take care of yourself. Well done. Thank you so much, Miss Knight. Thank you so much for your time and this wonderful time spending with you to learn more about you. Can't wait for the memoir to come out in 2022, and we hope that we can bring you back on the show again to tell us more about the memoir. And at the meantime, thank you again for your time, and for all those who are watching in later. This is the Miss Texas Show. Hope, love, unity. And tune in again. We love y'all. And thank you again, Miss Knight.
Thank you.